One day, I made a conscious decision to do something really over-the-top violent. A guy robbed me, and I decided I was going to kill him. So I was driving around looking for him to kill him. And I really think that in God's grace and mercy, he said, okay, I need to put you in jail for a while because you're about to cross a line that you can't come back from.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures.
We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
Few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
Because
loved.
we are loved.
Hi, my name is Jeff York, and I get to serve as the Executive Director of Joseph's Home. My journey began in 1999 when I was indicted on multiple felonies. 16 years of my journey has been faith-based. The first 10 years of my journey was in my own strength and power. What a ride it has been.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts, and we are glad you're here. We are, as I always say, about to embark on another story of redemption and God's grace in our lives. And today we are blessed with Mr. Jeff York. He is the founder and executive director of a home called Joseph's Home. And as you might imagine, that's a home that is up and running for the exclusive help for those in early recovery. And so another gentleman who's gone through his own hell to come out through God's grace and give back. And so we're really excited to have him on the heels of your own 14-year addiction and then 26 years now in sobriety, in recovery, actually. I like to differentiate those two. But even that's an interesting story, but we're going to get there. So as we always do, where does your story start, Jeff? I know you said just as we were chatting, you started into drugs fairly young. What prior to that, what was home life like? What led up to that?
I had great parents. My mom is a school teacher. My dad's, factory worker. Just great childhood, great family. If I were to look back at where things may have gone wrong, I was a special ed kid. Diagnosed with dyslexia at a young age. And in the early 80s, dyslexia was just, we didn't know much about it. So, there was a lot of bad information about what my education would look like. And in some respects, I was put in the classroom and just was there. No expectations. And so in thinking about how things may have gone wrong, I grew up kind of feeling less than most people. And I found that extreme acts of violence and drug addiction made people leave me alone. So being bullied and marginalized, that's what I turned to.
The bullying and the marginalization, all that stuff revolving around that disability.
Yeah. Being a special ed kid that's overweight is a recipe for being bullied and picked on,
Well, you said something, and again, just because sometimes there's unique pieces to people's story, and this dyslexic piece. You said there were no expectations of you, and of all, it's the expectations we put or don't put on people often become what they live up or down to. Do you feel like you just tended to resign to that?
Yeah, very much so. My mom actually went back to school to become an educator because of it. She said, that's just not the way this is going to happen, And so she spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time being tutored and, but again, even on into high school, by the time drugs had become a thing, because of the special education designation, even in high school, there weren't, just get through school, stay out of trouble, don't cause a disruption, and we'll get you through this thing. So I got a GED when I was still in 11th grade, but my mom and dad wanted me to graduate. So the school said, well, if you'll just come to school and don't get in trouble, we'll let you walk with your class.
We'll just pass you.
But it was just kind of like a fraud because I knew I'd already had my GED. So I would come check in about second period. I was out. I'm not staying here all day.
That's what I was going to say. When you say no expectations, that what I think of immediately is you just fell through the cracks, and there's no way you would have felt seen.
Yeah.
Just get by.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, in that day and age, what special ed was, you went into a classroom and they put a movie on. And everybody just kind of watched movies.
They didn't have a curriculum or any understanding.
Even if they had,
right.
It was just expected that you showed up, you went through the motions and went on about your way. And like I said, 13, 14, starting to do drugs and experiment with that. I didn't want to be there anyway.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to do anything, I went to college later on, and I got my first A ever in college in a psychology class. And I remember being so excited to call my mom. And my mom was like, that's so impressive because in psychology, it's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
But it was something I was passionate about, and I wanted to do it. So it wasn't that I couldn't do it. I just had to be passionate about it.
Boy, there's a mouthful about the education system and probably a whole show in there. But that's
very much.
But it's just sad to me because, there are lots of studies on how kids, again, live up or down to, right? Like if you put appropriate expectations on them, how they will be challenged to rise to that occasion. But if you don't, they just kind of sink to that identity, unfortunately. So that's a pretty sad start to your story.
Yeah, and
but it sounds like you had a wonderful, supportive mother.
Yeah, identity is a big deal. Once I began to identify as a drug addict, that this is who I am. I'm addicted. I know I'm addicted. I can't stop doing this. It drove everything.
And that started at what age for you?
If I think back to young enough, I knew it. 16, 17, 18 years old, I knew I was in trouble. You know what I mean?
That's when you started to identify with it?
I think so, yeah.
But your first dabbling into your introduction was much earlier than that, right?
13?
Yeah.
With whom?
Just people,
at school?
Friends, quote unquote.
People that you were surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, well, when you're acting out violently, you get to hang out with the big kids.
What did that look like? Yeah, because did the violence precede the drug use?
No, they kind of went hand in hand. I knew the only way to be in those places and swim in those waters, I had to set myself up. And, being bullied, I was going to have to fight one way or another. You know what I mean? So I might as well just come out the gate fighting and set the table. You know?
Gosh, I wonder why you lost interest in school, right? That was
it was a battleground.
Yeah.
Walking on a school campus for some kids was, wow, this is going to be a great day. That was never a day of my life. Every day was, okay, how do I get through this without getting beat up? And then, again, once I learned to be violent.
When you started becoming violent, and I'm guessing also getting in trouble, what did it look like when you were disciplined at home? Like, how did your mom respond to that?
They did the best they could. But again, I had to survive. So I would just take the punishment at home because, I had to go back. I had to go back and I had to survive. And, it's just a crazy dynamic. I walked to school. So whatever happened at school could carry over away from there.
Right.
Was that a really fearful time for you?
I don't know that I was really afraid more than I was just in survival mode. I wasn't afraid of what was going to come. I just knew that I had to do what I had to do. So it wasn't really a fearful thing. It was just, why does this keep happening?
Yeah.
And then as it began to become an identity, it just began to become something I just did.
When you started using drugs between the age of 13 and 16, when you actually started to identify, this is who I am, did that cohort become kind of a safety zone? Did you find kind of a safe haven in that group?
I belonged.
Yeah.
I belonged. I belonged to that group of friends. I belonged to that, you didn't
have to prove anything else.
Right. I belong
here.
Yeah. So when we would go somewhere, I had friends that were what we called, quote unquote, the lovers. And then we had those who were the fighters, and we stayed in our lanes. You know what I mean? They were going to talk to the girls, and I was going to stand on the fringe. And when somebody acted up, I was going to do what I had to do.
You were an enforcer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, as long as we had our roles, I could fit in. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's funny how God works, because my mom's a school teacher, and she comes to me, and I'm high and beat up, and, you know, just what you would expect. And she said, hey, I need you to go get some gift certificates. It's Christmas time, and I want to give gift certificates to my students. So go to McDonald's and get me gift certificates. And she hands me like $200. And I go to the McDonald's, and the first McDonald's I go to, they're like, we can't sell $200 worth of gift certificates. You have to go to a bigger store. So I drive to somewhere in Gulfport. I walk in. I, tell the lady behind the counter I want some gift certificates. She says, how many? I give her $200, and she says, well, I need your name and address to be able to sell you that many gift certificates. And I'm thinking, this sounds reasonable. So I give her my name and phone number and address, right? So she gives me the gift certificates. I go home, and a couple hours later, the phone rings. And, back then we had to pick the phone up off the wall and actually answer it. And she says, hey, this is so-and-so from McDonald's, and I just want to know, Friday night, would you go to a Bible study with me?
Wow. And
I'm thinking, well, she was kind of cute, so sure, why not?
For all the right
harm
reasons,
is there, right? So sure, I'll pick you up. We'll go to a Bible study. And I'm thinking, I don't even know what a Bible study is, but
sounds
whatever.
Good.
We'll
going.
Just get through it, right?
Yeah.
We'll just get through it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little slow on the uptake, but was that her reason, or that she didn't need that for selling?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was just her way to get my information, right?
You can see
back
I was
then
real.
You didn't have a cell phone, so you had to write phone numbers down, right?
That's funny.
So we go to the Bible study, and I have no expectations of what a Bible study. I don't even know what a Bible study is. So we walk into this place, and I'm looking around this room, and it's a room full of kids on a Friday night at a Bible study, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the world is going on here? And then they start praise and worship, and they're closing their eyes and worshiping God, and I'm like, okay, this is super weird. Like, I feel so uncomfortable.
How old are you at this time?
17.
Oh, 17. That's what you've been in.
So I'm sitting there, I got a pistol and a pocket full of dope, and I'm sitting in this Protestant Bible study going, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Like, I have no concept of that God exists, that I matter to him. None of that has even crossed my radar.
Did your mom go to church or anything like that when you were
Catholic.
growing up? Okay.
We were Catholic, and we went to Catholic church, and
So
I was
you
an
knew
altar
religion.
boy and all that stuff. Yeah, I had an idea of God, but my idea of God was bad.
Yeah.
He was punitive and angry, and sooner or later I'd make him mad enough.
You were going to be in trouble.
Yeah. And so this pastor starts, doing this Bible study thing, and he's talking about hope and love and kindness and gentleness, and I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, that is not the God like, that is completely different than everything I've heard. And what struck me was the biggest difference was they had something I didn't have, and that was hope.
Amen.
And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, man, if this is true, what could happen if this God is real?
Was this on your first Bible study you started having? That's, wow.
So he starts talking about closing your eyes and bowing your head, and I'm like, not happening. I don't know any of these people.
Yeah.
That ain't happening, right? And, just not to over-spiritualize anything, but next thing I know, I'm on my knees in front of this group of people, in front of this pastor, and I'm begging this God that I have no concept of to come into my life and become king of my life. And, I leave there, and I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. That was like super weird, but something had changed. So that night I got rid of the gun, took the drugs back to the dealers, and I'm like, do what you want to do. I'm not selling drugs for you anymore. Went home and dug through the bookshelf and found a Catholic Bible. And I show up Monday morning to school with a Catholic Bible. And some of the kids from the youth group are like, that's cool, but you need a holy Bible, because we don't read the Catholic Bible. And I'm like, there's a difference? And they're like, yeah, there's a difference. Oh, okay. So where do I get a holy Bible?
Where do I find one of them?
I'll bring you one. And I'm like, cool. But I had that was my experience. Like, Friday night, drug addicted, violent. Monday morning, I'm on fire, man. Let's go. Let's chill, let's charge hell with a water pistol. Let's go to the mall and evangelize. Let's go. And my friends were like, I don't know what is wrong with this guy. He has lost his mind, right? But,
To really paint the contrast, leading up to that, from 13 to 17, just in brief, how bad did it get? I mean, because we said nothing. All of a sudden, you're showing up at a Bible study with a gun in your pocket and drugs to sell. So how bad did it get? I mean, how dark exactly was it? I mean,
it was pretty bad. I was dabbling in selling drugs for people I definitely shouldn't have had any influence with or had anything to do with. And had I continued down that path, it would have got really bad.
How did you get into that? Was that just to support your own habit? Like if I sell, then
when
I
you're
get
the most violent person in the room, they find you. I mean, it really, if I were to say, a lot of times we think becoming a drug dealer or living in that life is really, really hard. It has never been hard for me. And some would say right place, wrong time, and I would say that's 100% true. You know what I mean?
Almost like you were a magnet.
Yeah. People would see the fact that I would do things that other people wouldn't do, and they would just say, okay, let's get him to do it. And it always, sin always overpromises and underdelivers.
Yeah.
It always started out with, you take this bag to New Orleans and you go in the bus station and you pick this package up and bring it back here. Okay, I can do that.
Is that also true of the level of violence that you would engage in, that you would be able to do things others didn't?
Yeah, part of that I think was a way to deal with the internal fear that I felt. There was something about being able to dominate another person violently. I could come away from that at times and feel good about, okay, maybe you're not the scared little kid that everybody
bullied.
Right.
So there was fear.
But then you sit at home and think to yourself, oh my goodness, I have done horrible, atrocious things.
Did you think about that when they were going on? You still had that?
when the adrenaline goes away and you're laying in bed at night and the drugs start to wear off, you're playing back all the hurt people that you've, and it's like, man, why do I keep doing this?
And when we hear that, and that's that tape playing all the way, it's really hard to even fathom that there might be something better for us, because now I can already see, and you're only 16 and 17 and saying, look at all the wrong I've already done. This is all there is for me.
Right.
And believe in it.
And then we start going to this youth group, and let's be honest, I didn't fit in.
Not at all.
I was a wolf around sheep.
But it's interesting, too, that you attribute it to the drugs, because honestly, where I was going was sometimes when you stand above the crowd, so to speak, in how dark you can get, the level of violence you're willing to go to, the actions, a lot of times that's evidence of just, a very sad process of kind of killing your own conscience, killing your own heart and compassion. But really, that didn't happen for you. This was really a product of the drugs doing that to you. And when the drugs would wear off, there was still this conscious guy with a heart behind all that. But then you would just use to tamp that back down so you could step back into that role?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I almost equated to the smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as I lived that persona,
yeah,
people would leave me alone. So I just put it on like a cape,
Yeah.
Time to go do bad stuff. I'll put on my bad stuff cape or whatever,
Do bad stuff, but there's a protective measure there for you, right?
It always came at a cost.
Yeah.
Always. Always. And that, in looking back at addiction over a long period of time, there's very few people that I've met in life who knew the consequences of what they were about to do and were able to do it anyway. And we just have that ability.
Yeah.
I know this is going to be catastrophic. I know this is going to cost me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And every step of the way I say, well, it's like as long as somebody was in worse shape than me, I was okay. Right. So if I could drive down the street and see the homeless guy, I'd be like, well, I'm not as bad as him. Right. Until, you become the crackhead, you become the whatever, and then you're looking for, well, at least I'm not on the corner doing tricks, or right?
Yeah.
And then you find yourself in a hotel room with a needle in your hand, and you're about to plunge this in your veins, and you're going, well, at least I'm not like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just keep making these compromises until one day you've done all those things, and you're looking back at your life, and you still have this, man, I can't keep down this path. Where does this end? And the reality is it typically ends in you dying in some horrible way, and being that story that we use. That was
don't be him.
My story with my family was, well, don't be like Jeffrey. You know what I mean?
You were the example of what not to do.
Right. Right.
Wow. So it's a powerful tale there. Yeah. So wow. So that you really did paint the contrast then, right? You step out of this role where you have to use to be somebody you're not. What a sad statement that is right off the bat. Right. Step into a potentially life-changing 180, right?
Yeah.
This Bible study.
That's right.
Feeling now super awkward though, right?
Yeah.
Super awkward.
Yeah, because I didn't fit in.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
At all. And worst case scenario, remember I said I was evangelistic, right? So I go and talk to my best friend, and he gets saved 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
So now they have a major problem. Not only do they have me, but now I have a cohort with me, and we're showing up at youth group.
The youth group has a major problem.
They're looking at us going, oh, my
What have we done?
Right. So, look, cultures collide.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday night, the youth group goes to McDonald's after church. We go to McDonald's after church with the youth group. But I'm a sheepdog at heart, right? So this fight breaks out in the parking lot of McDonald's, and me and my best friend dive off in this fight with grown people, not even anything to do with the youth group. And I look up, I'm about to really lay the smack down on somebody, and I look up, my youth pastor standing in the window going, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, what is he talking about? This is what we do, right?
Yeah.
And he's going, no, bro, you're a youth group kid. You're supposed to be not fighting in the parking lot with adults. You're supposed to be in here with us. But in the culture that we were from, there's a fight. We're protecting them. So we're in this. You know what I mean? And after that, it was really kind of a downhill spiral of, hey, y'all come, Wednesday night, y'all come over here. Let the kids do their thing. Y'all come in big church, right? Because we just didn't fit in.
Yeah.
And even more so, the people of the church didn't know how to disciple us or mentor us, right? So it was kind of, hey, y'all come sit over there, and we're going to be over here.
So
and we
still
just
not fitting in.
Yeah, totally not fitting in.
Yeah.
Totally not fitting in.
Also not given it's not expectations, but it is. It's the same environment that I don't know where I'm going. Yeah. Y'all aren't telling me what I can and can't do. I don't fit anywhere.
Right. So I ran. I found out a little Southern Baptist school in North Mississippi, and I said, surely, if I go up there, somebody can teach me how to be a Christian. Oh. Right? So I get to Newton, Mississippi, probably 200 students in this little bitty town out in the middle of nowhere. And as you can imagine, they're all preachers' kids. So they're going to college to get away from mom and dad. I'm going to college to get away from drugs and alcohol. They're doing everything I don't want to do.
Oh, no.
And I'm trying to learn from them how to be a Christian. I'm like, hold on. I didn't come up here for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I could have stayed home for that.
I had
you know
that.
what I mean? So again, cultures collide, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do everything.
This time you're on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, I'm trying to do everything different from them.
Yeah.
And again, all of a sudden, I'm starting to find some success. I'm making some decent grades, and okay, well, maybe I can swim in these waters, right? But again, it's expectations. I'm expecting to be mentored and discipled, and I'm a quote unquote ministry student because I think that I feel like God's calling me into ministry, so I'm gonna be a ministerial student, right? But again, I didn't fit in because I wasn't like the rest of the students up there.
Your motivations were different.
Yeah.
Who are the rest of the kids up there are dabbling in your old lifestyle, right?
And I didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And so it was just a clash of cultures. So I go into chapel one day and there's a guy talking about summer missions. And I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. Say that again. You're going to pay me to go somewhere and do a mission trip for the whole summer. And you're going to fly me there. Okay, I'm in. Running again, right? So I put like Bora Bora and Tahiti and, the Bahamas, all the islands I could think of. That's where I want to go and be a summer missionary. And as God would have it, I did go to an island of Atlantic City. And if you don't know this, but Atlantic City, New Jersey technically is an island. And, there I was confronted with a completely different culture, because in Atlantic City, New Jersey, with proximity to New York and Philadelphia, there were real gangsters there, right? There was real crime on a level I had never seen before.
Yeah, it's a little Vegas.
Right. And what I was asked to do was vacation Bible schools and help come up with some activities for the young teenagers of Atlantic City. But Atlantic City is completely unchurched at the time. I think there was one church on the island, and it was like an Orthodox church or something like that. And here we are, Southern Baptist kids from the South.
Parachuting in to see it.
And we're doing a vacation Bible school, and there's a shootout in front of us, and the kids saved us because we were so completely unaware of what's about to happen. I noticed some kids hiding behind one of the blue mailbox things, and I'm like, what are they doing? And then a shootout breaks out, and I'm like, oh, that's what they're hiding. You know what I mean? So again, culture clash, right? So I'm doing all these things. I'm going to church. I'm doing these Christianese things. But now, my addiction hadn't gone anywhere. And I have free time, and I have no supervision because I'm on a summer mission trip, expected to do summer missionary stuff. And it wasn't long before I knew I couldn't come home because that was not going to work. Going back to college, I gotta keep moving. I can't go back to that, right? But now I can see that, my desire to get high and my desire to do bad stuff is ramped up. And now I'm out of accountability. I'm up there basically by myself, and nobody's paying attention. So it wasn't long before,
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
Was there kind of an appeal when you hit Atlantic City to the chaos that you see? I mean, was there kind of an...
Yeah, but on a scary level, because it's a completely different culture there.
But still appealing. There's a part of you that's curious.
You definitely saw, these guys, being down here and hearing the word Crips or Bloods was completely different to what... There was generational poverty there. There were people that were in housing projects. Their great-grandmothers lived in the same housing projects with them. Their great-grandfathers were gang members.
Yeah.
And they're gang members. And I'd never... It's on a whole different level.
And they sent you up there alone? You were.
There was a pastor there working in the area, but he was from Kansas or something like that. You know what I mean? So we weren't totally alone, but we had a lot of free time.
Okay.
And for me, that was just a recipe. He would go home with his wife and family, and I was kind of left fending for myself, and
So how did you get back into it?
It was just a slow fade. I met some ladies, females, whatever. And, if you ask cab drivers or prostitutes about drugs, you're in.
Where you need to go.
Wasn't long. That's what I was doing. And I'd dress up and act, the part during the day. And at night when nobody was around, I was doing my thing.
So that's what I was curious about, right? So you were straddling the fence now.
Double life.
How long does that last before it?
It wasn't long, 3 or 4 months. And then, everybody knew he's in trouble. You got to go home. You know what I mean? And I knew I couldn't come back to Mississippi. I knew I didn't want to go back to college. I'm 23, 24 years old now. What are you going to do? So I moved to Mobile, Alabama, hoping for a fresh start, geographical rehab, right? If I stay away from my people, places, and things.
You're saying geographical rehab. Did you go with the intent to stop?
No, I just was changing geography.
Yeah,
maybe a new town, new place. Nobody will know me,
I think part of it is also wanting to avoid what would be at home.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I knew I couldn't go back to Mississippi and continue to flourish. So, I had to find some other way. And now, and here's the tape that's playing in my head. Now I'm convinced that I failed at being a Christian. So now that I failed at being a Christian, the only thing I'd ever been good at is selling drugs.
Yeah.
So I crash land back in Mobile, and I'm a 23 or 24-year-old lifeguard, and I should get married and have kids, right? Because that's a great idea.
Right.
And that'll help. Right? So I marry a lady in Mobile that has a child already. Very shortly after we get married, she's pregnant. So now we have 2 kids, and I'm a part-time lifeguard.
And are you still using?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she?
No.
She's not a user.
No.
Does she know you're using?
But more importantly, I'm a part-time lifeguard trying to take care of family.
Yeah.
So
it's
unraveling quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Does she know you're using?
Not
Are you
really.
Keeping that from her?
Yeah, the money's not adding up. You know, the lack of motivation isn't adding up. Our bills are starting to add up. And I got to do something to start paying the bills, or we're in trouble. And so I started dabbling again. And really, back to what I was saying earlier, I'm sitting in a bar with $20 on the counter. I'm drinking a beer, and a guy sits down next to me and says, "You look like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders." And I said, "I do." And he said, "What would it cost to get it off?" And I said, "About $14,000. And he said, "What would you do? What would you do if I could make it all go away?"
Wow.
And I said, "Anything." And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." And that started a relationship that within 2 or 3 weeks, I'm selling drugs again. And then my wife is like, "Okay, I'm out. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on here. You're changing in front of me," And we get divorced, and I just spiral completely out of control from the context of now I failed at being a Christian. I failed at being a dad. I failed at everything. So there's nothing off the table. I'm going to make as much money as fast as I can, and I'll do whatever it takes. And that was the spiral. There was nothing off the table.
And so you were, how old did you say?
Probably 24, 25 by this point.
All right. And so this spiral is back right into the violence and the drugs.
I'm working in a bar as a bouncer.
Yeah.
I'm selling drugs in that bar as the bouncer.
Yeah.
And my whole world is just immersed in strippers, nightclubs, cocaine, ecstasy, and just completely out of control.
Yeah.
I go make my first trip as a trafficker and come back with 15,000 hits of ecstasy.
Wow.
During that time, after y'all were separated, did you have visitation? Were you seeing your children?
She was smart enough to keep me away from them because she could tell things were just completely out of control, which of course drove the rage and anger that I felt, which drove, okay, well, you want to play games, I'll show you how bad this can get, right?
Right.
And, I was fairly suicidal at this time, so it didn't take a whole lot for me to go completely over the top or just completely lash out. Then you add cocaine to that, to that violent cycle. And it was really touch and go. I started working for a bail bonding company, which put me in a whole different industry of people and, meeting different people and, again, carrying guns, just completely off the rails, and no limits. There was nothing in me except laying in bed in the still of the night saying to myself, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this.
It's funny. I was going to ask you, in this time when the drugs wore off, was the conscience still there? It sounds like there is a spark.
Ironically enough, I tend to say things sometimes that I probably shouldn't, but I don't know that I necessarily had a drug problem. I had a money problem. I had access to all the drugs I could ever want.
Yeah.
I just had to be able to pay for them. And I knew better than to have other people's drugs in my possession as a trafficker, right, and mess them up. So I would get clean long enough to go do whatever I had to do, and then when I came home, I had money, I had clout, I had influence, and drugs weren't a problem.
Yeah.
And so it was a recipe for disaster. And I did really over the top things.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Do legal consequences come in at some point? Do you ever get?
Yeah. So of course my lifestyle is, such that I know I'm being followed. Yeah. I know it's the feds. I know eventually it's all going to come to an end. Right. And one day let me say this. One day I made a conscious decision to do something really over the top violent. A guy robbed me, and I decided I was going to kill him. So I was driving around looking for him to kill him. And I really think that in God's grace and mercy, he said, okay, I need to put you in jail for a while because you're about to cross a line that you can't come back from. And so I was looking for this guy all over town, bent on his death and destruction. And finally, the local DEA agent in Mobile said, we're going to put you in jail. And that began that journey of, I was in a criminal conspiracy of a group of individuals that had enough information to indict this criminal conspiracy. So they did. And when I was arrested, I was given a tremendous amount of charges, about 18 felonies in one fell swoop.
How old were you?
28, almost 30, in between 28 and 30. It took about 2 years to finally indict me and for me to be going to court. But during that period, it was 18 felonies-ish, distribution, trafficking, multiple counts of distribution, and 100% guilty. And a lot of it, they had evidence that I was 100% guilty, which is, it's crazy because you think that you're just the slickest person on the planet until they come in with, wagons full of information and start putting pictures on the table. Is this you? Is this you? No, that's not me.
Yeah.
Who is that guy, right? Who's this? It's my best friend. Who's this? I have no idea who that guy is. Well, that's funny because I have 50 pictures of you two together. Oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like, if I just deny, this is going to go away, right?
But it didn't.
No.
Were assault charges in the mix? I mean, were there
were some violent charges and stuff like that in the the list of things that they indicted me with. And I go to court. the first day of court, they list off all these 18 felonies, right? And the judge just shakes his head and he says, Mr. York, you do realize that you're looking at 90 years in the penitentiary. And all of a sudden it was like,
that made it real.
That's a lot of time, right? And I know that they know that I'm guilty. So how are you going to get out of this, right? So in the deals of how to get out of jail and all that stuff, I convinced them to let me come back to Mississippi because I was homeless, nowhere to go, walk out of the federal courthouse with a phone full of phone numbers. But ironically enough, when you get arrested by the feds, nobody's answering the phone, right?
Well, so, how did you convince them to let you? Are you walking out just waiting for your next trial date?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I think a lot of it was they knew I was going to mess up. So it didn't really matter where I went. They were going to eventually just arrest me again.
Oof.
Right? And now I've got all these charges hanging over my head. So go to Mississippi, it's fine. We'll come get you over there, right? And so, I crash land over in Mississippi. Now I'm hiding. I can't tell my mom and dad. I can't tell anybody, and I'm basically homeless. So what are you going to do?
And completely alone and isolated.
Yeah. And I can't get high because if I get high,
then you go back.
Yeah, it's over with, right? So what do you do?
Well, I don't think anybody was going to answer to sell you any drugs anymore.
No. So I met a 24-year-old single mom.
You got married again.
And I made myself indispensable to her because she had the three things I didn't have. She had a car, a job, and a house, and I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So I just weaseled my way into her life and,
You say weasel. Was it a very overt kind of con to get into her life, or? Yeah,
in the beginning it was just she had the things I didn't have, so I was just going to be whatever she wanted me to be. Right, I'm a chameleon.
Yeah.
So, I'm a single dad. Nothing about my legal cases. I'm trying to get a job. Bear with me. We'll get all this together. And
yeah. How does that turn out?
Move in with her, and we're doing life. And I know, every 60 days I'm going to trial, and they're telling me, hey, this is coming. Sentencing is right around the corner. You need to start making some deals or something. Nope, not doing any of that. You're just going to have to convict me, right? And so finally the day comes, right? I'm going to trial. There's no more continuances. This is happening. And so what do? I set my girlfriend down on the bed and I said, so I've been hiding some things from
Oh, my
you.
goodness.
And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, I'm probably going to prison today for about 90 years.
Wow.
So I'm going to park my car in the parking lot. I'll leave the keys in it. You come get the car, sell it, and do what you need to do. And might I add, she's pregnant at the time that I dump all this on her. And I get in the car and I got a Walmart bag with a pack of white underwear, a toothbrush, and a pair of socks. And I go get in the car, fully expecting to go to prison for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I go to court. And through, I've thought of a million different ways to explain what happened, but the reality is God's grace and mercy, right?
Yeah.
Before you take us there, you had mentioned a while back that there were some suicidal feelings. So now you're driving to court thinking the rest of your life. Were you feeling at all that way then? Were you contemplating?
100%. Every step of the way, I'm thinking to myself, if you just pull over and blow your brains out, this ends right here, right? But for some reason, I just couldn't. I could never do it. I thought about it a lot. I plotted on it a lot.
Yeah.
I would go get the bottle of liquor, and when I get to the bottom of this bottle, I'm going to stick this pistol in my mouth, right? And I'd pass out or whatever. It was always there because I just did not feel like I could do 90 years in the penitentiary.
Right. I can imagine.
So even in court that day, I'm thinking of ways to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like if this goes south really quickly, death by policeman, whatever, what are you going to do? Right.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there in court just, how is this going to play? And when it's that many charges and it's involved with other people, there's all kinds of things at play. So, we're sitting in court and, they're doing their thing, and this case gets thrown out for this, and this case gets thrown out for that, or this one can't be prosecuted for whatever reason. And we're getting to the sweet spot where that 90 years is now 20 years, is now 15 years, now it's 10 years. And I'm looking at my attorney like, I might actually walk out of here, right? And so the judge just was like, okay, we're done with this. Mr. York, I know that you're guilty of most of this, so I'm going to find you guilty of 2 counts of possession, and I'm going to sentence you to 5 years suspended for 5 years probation. And I look at my attorney, and he's like, come on, go, get out.
Run.
Get out of here, right?
How many felonies, just like you said, about how many you were facing?
18 total felonies, and I was convicted of 2.
Convicted of 2 out of 18 and given probation.
Probation. Which again, I think the reason they did that is nobody thought that I would actually do probation and stay clean.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll catch me, and now I'm a 2-time convicted felon. So if they catch me with another drug charge, it's habitual and it's over with, right? So we'll give him low-hanging fruit, he'll leave, and then we'll get him on the flip side, which is exactly what potentially could have happened. I mean, I'm at that time in my life, I wasn't super smart, right? So I go get a job at Northrop Grumman because now I need to prove to this girlfriend that I've just destroyed, who knows the truth about what's going on with me, that I'm going to change my life, right? And the first time they called me to do a drug test, I'm at Northrop Grumman smoking meth in a tool room. So I go to probation and say, well, by the way,
I'm not going to be able to
if you
do
test
this
me today, I'm going to fail because I was just smoking meth 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And the probation officer said, if you ever come back in here high, I will send you to prison. I assure you of that. So the 10 years of, okay, now we got to set the clock. How long can I stay clean? So I'm just hiding out, right?
Okay.
I go back, I get her, we move to some property of some people that I have a relationship with that I probably shouldn't have a relationship with. And we're just hiding out on this farm out in the kill. And I'm as far away from people as I can get. I don't go to the store. I go to work and come straight home, and that's it. You know what I mean? And I'm absolutely in fear of everything and everybody because all I got to do is mess up again, and it's over. Yeah. And I know it's over, right? So that became our life. I'm just hiding out, you know? No quality of life. I'm just existing. And about 10 years of that was just
So that was you miserable. Maintained 10 years sober, as you said in your introduction, white knuckling it.
Yeah.
Just basically fear-based.
Sure. And, you know, I'm living on some property with some people, you know, that are 1% motorcycle gang members.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm really hiding out. But my best friend's mom convinces their 26-year-old pastor to come out to the property to witness to us. Because obviously that's what a mom does, right?
Yeah.
And I'm watching this little pastor drive down the path to our trailers, and I'm thinking to myself, son, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You have any idea where you are? Like, you should not be here, right? And the whole time he's talking to us, I'm thinking, yeah, that's great, but you need to leave. Like, you can't be here. If they catch you here, this could go bad quickly. You know what I mean? You got to... And, man, he just kept coming and kept coming. I would snub him, and he would come right back a week later. And I'm sitting there going, dude, I tried that God thing, and it didn't work, you know?
I didn't belong good. There either.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not.
Were you angry at God? Did you feel like he let him down, or were you just like, man, that must not be real? Like, what were your thoughts
I
about
don't
that?
know that I was really angry at God. I think I was really more embarrassed. Like, I let him down. You know what I mean? He held up his end of the bargain and I messed up, right? I definitely didn't trust him, you know? And so my friend got back in the church and rededicated his life. And so we just kind of parted ways for a period of time. And I was happy that his life was heading in that direction, but I tried that, man, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
But he and my girlfriend kind of teamed up, and they started in on, hey, you should come to church. You should come to church. No, I'm good, man. We tried that church thing. No, I'm good. No, you should come to church. Then my friend starts talking about going on the mission field. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, bro?
I tried that
have you
too.
lost your mind?
Yeah.
You know, are you playing my playbook? That's a terrible idea. You will get on the mission field and do exactly what I did. but they wouldn't relent. So really the thought process was, man, if I go to church, they'll shut up and leave me alone. How hard can it be, right? I'll just go, sit in the back row, point my knees to the door, and if any of you Christians get too close, I'm out, right? So we show up at Michael Memorial really from that context. I'm just here, leave me alone. You know, I'm in full defensive mode, right? But what happened was there was a guy in the church at the time who I knew his past. And his past was completely similar to mine, but he's an elder of this church. And I'm thinking to myself, how did he get from that guy I knew when I was in high school to this guy who's a respected member of this church who everybody loves? Like, how does that happen? And more importantly, here's my best friend who is 100% sold out to this God thing, and he's about to go on the mission field. Like, he's selling his business and moving him and his wife and his young family to the Navajo reservation in Arizona.
Wow.
Who does that?
Yeah.
You know?
When you saw that, did you feel like even a part of you, maybe that could be me? Or did you not even get there?
Absolutely not, no. I had weaseled my way into a job working for Voc Rehab, so I was just doing my thing.
Was that, you said rehab, was that a substance abuse rehab or a physical?
Vocational rehab. It's where people go who have catastrophic injuries and we help them get jobs.
I missed that, yeah.
So I got this day job I shouldn't have because I'm a 2-time convicted felon. I'm just trying to fly under the radar, right? I'm still the chameleon.
Yeah.
You know, I'm one.
Still living under a cloud of fear. It's
I'm one way
yeah.
in front of everybody else, but in my heart, I was just broken and hopeless again. And it's sitting at church at Michael Memorial and hearing Tony Carnes preach. Around here, y'all call him Too Real Tony. The participants do. But hearing him preach, it was a different dynamic because he was so raw and so real. And as I began to hear his story and all that he had been through, I'm thinking, man, that's awesome. I'm glad that worked for him, right? Well, we're sitting in church one Sunday, and we had been there probably, 6 or 7 months of me saying, we get in the car and leave, and I'd say, I'm never coming back to this church again, right? He made me mad or he hurt my feelings or whatever. I'm not coming back.
He's hitting all the right buttons.
Right.
Is what's happening.
And then the next week I'm sitting in church going, okay, what you got now, right? So we're sitting there and he's preaching and he made a statement that I don't even know that he realized the weight of it. But he said, there are those of you in this church who believe that you've gone too far and you've done too much, and that's just not true. You think that you disqualified yourself or you lost your salvation or whatever by your actions. Yeah. And you've identified as something that you're never meant to be. Only God can tell you who you are. The potter tells the pot what it's going to become. And I'm thinking to myself, interesting. He said, you've lived under this fear of failing God when God was with you every step of the way. You just have to come back to that joy of your salvation. Boy,
that's a bullseye.
And man, that landed on me like a ton, like the weight of the world.
Yeah.
If that's true, then I've just spent all this time as a saved man of God defaming God's name. And what do you do with that? Because if there was ever a reason to thump you off the planet, that's it.
Yeah.
Defrauding God's name? Come on now.
And you already felt like you had let him down so much.
So I literally crawled to the altar.
Wow.
And on my face said, okay, God, if you're real and this is real, I want it all this time. I don't want a little bit. I want it all. So whatever that looks like, I'm in.
Yeah. But
I need you to be real. I need you to be the God that spoke light into existence because I've made a mess of this thing. And it was from that moment that I stood up and began to, okay, now what? But now I have a position to fight from, right?
Yeah.
I have power and authority that's not mine, but it's the power of the Holy Spirit in me to be different.
It's interesting about how you avoided that pull of the Holy Spirit to you, right? I asked you if you were angry, and it wasn't anger. And it dawns on me, listening to you talk, that I'm sure there's lots of different ways people push off, but it seems like those are two very powerful roots. We're either angry at God and blaming him, therefore I don't want anything to do with him, Or I have so condemned myself that I feel like I am beyond his reach.
That's right.
Right. But you're not. You never are. Right. I mean, that's I love
it. It kills me when people say I found Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't find Jesus.
Yeah,
I had no concept of who, you know what I mean? Like that whole idea just was. Not only was not looking for Jesus at 17, I definitely wasn't at 30 something.
Yeah,
right?
you were running from him.
I had no interest in any of that. And yet, so the question is always, how do I know that I was saved at 17? Well, when I walked into that Protestant Bible study at 17, I had no concept of what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
But every moment of every day after that, even as bad as the drugs got, I always knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And when I crawled to that altar that day and I stood up from there, it was a different resolve. It was, okay, game time. Now what?
Yeah.
Right? So, of course, what would you do? Well, the first thing I did is I went and found that elder and said, I think I should get involved in this church thing somehow. So is there someplace I can serve? And we're passing each other in the hall on a Wednesday night, and he stops and kind of laughs. And I'm thinking, what are you laughing at, man? I'm trying to serve. Y'all keep talking about this serving thing, right? And he said, well, Brother Tony just gave me this book, so I'll give it to you, and you read it and tell me what you think. And I'm thinking, I didn't want a book, man. I wanted a job. What are you doing? So he gives me a book, and I take it to my girlfriend. We go home, and I throw it on the coffee table. I'm like, that's stupid. What happened? I wanted a job. Well, the weekend comes and I'm sitting in the living room minding my own business. I pick the book up and start reading it, and it's the Leader Guide to Celebrate Recovery. Oh. And I'm like, wait a minute, somebody needs to do this at our church. I need this, right? So I read the book, I go back to church, I hand it to Wade. I'm like, hey, somebody needs to do this here because this is life-changing. I need to be able, and he's like, yes, you do. No. Somebody, he's like, oh yeah, you need to do this. You need to learn it. You need to read it. You need to facilitate it. We'll get together on Friday nights and we'll start working the steps and we'll see where this thing goes. Oh, wow. And that was kind of the toe dipping in the water of, man, if these steps are real, if all this is real, if this recovery thing is real, how do I transition from white knuckling it to in the strength and power of the Holy Spirit, right? And it was a completely different game changer. Yeah. Now I have something to fight with. Now I have tools in my toolbox. I got accountability. I have people that I can trust. I'd never trusted anybody in my life. Yeah. Now I'm learning how to trust and have, accountability and a sponsor that I actually listen to now and do what they tell me to do and not just be the chameleon, right? And just fake it till I make it. Yeah. And it was through that God just really began to change my whole concept. It's kind of like the Oreos analogy. If I know my wife has Oreos in the kitchen and I sit in the living room and say, I'm not going to eat the Oreos, how long is it before you're eating Oreos? Right?
Well, you know what? That's so, I love that because, I always tell the clients this, and I wish I'd come up with it, but I didn't. But that principle is worth highlighting. So there is somebody online who said it this way, that you don't win the war against addiction by fighting addiction.
That's right.
Right? Because if you're fighting addiction, that's your focus. Your eyes are on it. You're concentrating on it. You win the war against addiction by building a life that's so good without it, it no longer fits in.
It's the identity,
you
right?
have to build.
Right. I got up off the floor that day from surrendering to God's will for my life with a new identity. Yeah. His identity, what he had created me to be all along. And it was a game changer. Now I'm not eating Oreos. I'm just living out this life of Christ.
Well, so when you're white knuckling it, right, your only purpose is not to use.
That's it.
But when you're in recovery, that's why that distinction, my purpose is to build something of worth.
That's it.
Right?
Or part of a team.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
And that service, that being a part of Celebrate Recovery bolstered that, right? So now I have some things to be excited about, and I have some things to be proud of, that God is doing these things in my life. Did I, at that point, look far enough down the road to say, well, what if? No, I'm just still trying to figure this thing out,
Sure.
right? But then God begins to breathe into my heart these what ifs. So I'm at Voc Rehab watching this repetitive cycle of people come to Voc Rehab through alcohol and drugs. They come there, we help them get a job, they start doing better, and they relapse and fall off because they don't have the accountability, they don't have the community, they don't have a sponsor, they don't have a place, a safe place to stay.
They go back to same old places,
so
people
I'm like,
and things.
okay,
yeah.
It's more familiar
what do we
than
do?
most.
Right? So somebody from Oxford House comes in and sits down and is talking to me about their transitional program. And I'm thinking, wait, hold on. That's actually a thing. Like people, like I've heard of halfway houses,
Yeah.
but they're typically poorly run and terrible.
And relapse houses.
Right.
Yeah.
And I joke all the time about, like, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't even know it. Like, I didn't go to the Home of Grace. I didn't go to rehab. I didn't go to transition home. Right. So I didn't even know what that looked like.
Yeah.
So she's talking about this transition home where, every 6 months somebody's a new leader, and I'm thinking I'd be selling drugs there 5 minutes after I got there. So you're going to put me in a house with a bunch of drug addicts and I'm in charge? Oh, I would absolutely be selling drugs there. So I just started going online and finding transitional homes all over the country. Like, how are they doing at other places? And I really got a red marker and a yellow marker. And if I thought the rule was stupid, I put a red mark to it. And if I thought, hey, that might be something, I circled it, right? And at the end, I had this list of do's and don't do's, and it began to start making sense to me. Like, okay, if a transitional home completely redid the way they did things, what would that look like? And then I remember thinking to myself, wait a minute, who's going to do this? Like, who's going to open a how would you open? You're a 2-time convicted felon, bro. Nobody's giving you a nonprofit. Stop it. Just do your job, keep your head down, and be quiet, right? The part of my story that I kind of left out on purpose was I had an 18-year-old cousin named Joseph. And as I began the early white knuckling of that 10 years, his mom asked me to intercede on his behalf because he was getting high and was getting in trouble. So he moved in with me and my wife on that property for about a year while he got his high school education. And the rule was, as long as you don't do anything stupid, I'll let you live here. And you got to get an education. So he did. And as he graduated from high school, his mom and dad bought him a car. He got in trouble with the car. They found some meth on him. He went to prison for a couple of years. He got out, and things just weren't ever the same. He did okay from time to time, but he was just still struggling with his addiction. And we didn't really, our relationship got really ugly, so we just didn't hang out. And then I get a phone call from another cousin of mine that he's overdosed and died. Well, Jeff typically takes bad information like that badly. So I did what I normally do. I got really angry, and I just lashed out at all the people he knew. And at his funeral, I kept hearing people saying, yeah, I knew he was in trouble, but I just didn't know what to do. And I'm sitting there thinking, but if you had done anything, he might still be alive. What are you talking about, right?
Right.
And it was in that moment that I clearly heard God say, yeah, but what are you doing? And I'm thinking, because he was my cousin and I didn't do anything. And I could have. And I knew better. And so that pain kind of drove me to start thinking or asking the question, what if God could do this with me?
What would that look like?
What would that look like? And so, you know, it seems simple, but it really wasn't. I called my wife one day, and I had 2 employees who were in addiction, who were quote unquote in recovery, who need a place to stay and they don't have anywhere to go. And I said, what would you think about Sam and Billy coming and staying with us for a couple of days? And she said, okay. And I thought, well, that was way easier than I thought it would be. And we're living in a little 3-bedroom house. 2 of our kids are living with us, and we come home with 2 homeless drug addicts. And one sleeping on the couch, and I went and found a mattress and put the other one on the floor in the living room. And that week we had 2 pounds of ground beef and 7 boxes of rice-a-roni to feed 7 people.
Wow.
And that's really how it started.
Yeah.
I called Pastor Tony shortly after they moved in and said, hey, I got Sam and Billy living with me, and we're going to try this whole halfway house thing out. And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, I don't know.
So Joseph House starts
Joseph's
there, named after your...
Yeah, Joseph's home. Yeah.
Joseph's home. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's really where it started. I got 2 guys sleeping on the floor, and I'm going to work every day trying to figure out what a rehab is or a transition home or what are we doing here.
Wow.
And God is just really, really speaking some things into my life. And one of those things was this idea of let's keep it simple, right? How is this going to be most effective to honor God? And it really boiled down to me looking at the discipleship model. What did Jesus do? He took 12 of the most unruly, disrespectful people he could find. And for a period of time, they watched and he did. Then he did, they did, and he watched, and then he sent them out, right? So it's the discipleship model that we use in everything. Well, if that works, if that's how Jesus did it, then you know, there should be some...
It should work for you, too.
Yeah. So as Joseph's Home evolved, that became the model, right?
How did it evolve from bringing home 2 homeless drug addicts?
I just kept picking people up. I'd be driving down the interstate and see a homeless guy, and I'd pull up and say, hey, do you want to go someplace and be safe and have a hot meal tonight?
But this is in your personal home starting at this point. Yeah.
And I call my wife and say, hey, I found another drug addict. I'm bringing him home. And she'd be like, okay. And it just kept getting more and more uncomfortable. We're still in that little bitty house. We're still, you know, I'm just piling up.
How many people did you end up with? Like, what was the peak
4
there? 4?
And then our sons ended up moving out. And so I could put people in bedrooms and beds, and the church ended up helping us rent a bigger house that was like 4 bedrooms. So then we had like 8 people sleeping in the house.
Wow.
And I'm going to work every day. My wife is going to work every day, and we're leaving these guys in the house with no jobs and, you know, expecting them to do what they're supposed to do. You can imagine how quickly that went wrong.
Not every day went well, right. I'm assuming,
so I called my wife one day and I said, you know, I'm really thinking that we need to look at this from a full-time standpoint. And she says, I'm glad you finally figured that out. And I was like, okay. So I made an appointment with Pastor Tony, and surely he'll talk me out of this, right? This is insanity. So I go sit with him, and he's like, I'm glad you finally figured that out, right? So, you know, here I'm fixing to quit my job. You know, both of our incomes are paying for this. Like, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm quitting a state job, and I've disappointed my parents so many times. So I'm like, surely my mom and dad will be like, are you stupid? Like, have you lost your mind? So I got to get my mom and dad on board, and then I got to get my wife. Now we're married, so now I got to get my wife on board, right? So surely she's going to talk me out of this. And so I called my mom, and I said, hey, I need to talk to you about something. And she's like, okay. I said, you know, this whole Joseph's Home thing is kind of taking on this new thing. And she's like, right? And I said, I think I might want to look at doing this full time. And she says, yeah, your dad and I kind of figured that's where you were going. And I said, what do you think? And she said, well, you know, retirement's always been a big thing to us, but you've always kind of done the unconventional.
Yeah.
So you just do what God leads you to do.
Wow.
Okay. So I got off the phone, typed up my letter of resignation.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now it's getting real. Somebody's going to say, don't do this, right? So I take a picture of it and I send it to my wife, and she sends back, amen. Like, what does amen mean? What, yes, do it?
Yeah.
No, you're stupid. What does amen mean, right? So I send it to Pastor Tony, and he sends back, amen. I'm like, oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me? So surely if I take it to my boss, he's going to say, dude, you're 6 months away from being vested in your retirement. Just wait.
Yeah.
Right? I go give it to him, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's been accepted. You're approved. 30 days from now, you'll no longer be an employee of the state.
Wow.
And now it's real, because 30 days from now, not only am I not going to be an employee of the state, but I'm not going to have an income.
Yeah.
And we're paying, our joint salaries are paying for this Josome thing. So now what
Talk about stepping out on
what
faith.
are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Right? And so, man, I remember pulling out of the parking lot thinking to myself, you have made a terrible, this is stupid. Who, right? And man, God just every step of the way. And I remember the first $250 gift card I found in our mailbox, because I could go buy groceries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
I remember like seeing God just move in unbelievable ways. I'm standing at the power company. The power guy is standing on the property about to turn the power off. I'm about to go to the window to beg the lady at the window to not turn my power off. And I get a text message that the exact amount I need to pay the power hit my account.
Wow.
I couldn't even talk. I walked up and I hand the lady my phone, and I'm crying, and she's like, can I help you, honey? And I'm like, just pay the power bill.
Wow.
Stop the guy from turning it off, right?
Yeah.
And it was just miracle after miracle after miracle, just God just showing out, man. And I can't explain what happened other than God's faithfulness, right?
Right.
Because, there wasn't some magic goose egg that gave us $1 million. God just faithfully showed up. I walked and opened the pantry one day, and there's no food. And I'm thinking, okay, God, I got 20 people we got to feed today. What are we going to do? And my phone rings, and a guy says, hey, can you meet me down at one of the condos? There's a youth group leaving town, and they're going to donate some food to us. So I get in my van, drive down to the thing, and next thing I know, my entire van is filled from front door to back door with food. I call 2 of our board members, and they show up with trucks and trailers, and we fill their trucks and trailers up with food. And by that afternoon, we have food for months.
Yeah.
In one day. And I'm just like, how did this happen?
You stepped out on faith.
Yeah.
I mean,
so again, it's the whole nonprofit thing.
Yeah.
Who gives a convicted felon nonprofit status? But Brother Tony was like, hey, apply for it. Worst case scenario, they say no, right?
Jeff, let me pause you for a second and ask, can you spend just a few minutes and talk about, there's this story behind the story that I'm curious about now. Because this relationship with your wife started out as a con, right? I need a place to stay. She's got what I don't have. Let's just do this. But somewhere clearly this woman is just a blessing to you, and a real love story breaks out. Can you just talk a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes there?
I mean, the only words I can say to that is she loved me in a time when I couldn't love myself.
Yeah.
And it was through that love, it was her loving me that made me start thinking, hey, man, maybe I can
change,
be better. Maybe I can do this thing. And it was the disappointment in her eyes every time that I would do something really, really stupid that just drove me to be better, right? I didn't understand why she loved me so much. I didn't understand why she wouldn't just quit, Like, I've screwed up my entire life. All I'm going to do is bring misery to you. Just stop. And she kept saying, I'm not going anywhere.
Wow.
And I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
And you do what you want to do. I'm going to be right here. And I would screw up and do something stupid, and then I'd be like, God, please help me not do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just her tenacious love for me, that I just could not. It was inescapable.
Yeah.
And her believing in me when nobody else would even consider that this person who had made such a mess of things could actually be different. And the whole idea of being a man of God was so foreign to me.
Was she always a Christian?
Yeah.
From the time you met?
Yeah. Yeah. And she just dug her heels in and would not let go.
Yeah.
Would not let go.
Wow.
And kept spurring me on to be better.
Yeah.
She would say things that I couldn't say to myself. This isn't you. You're better than this. Stop. And I'd be like, no, you don't understand. I'm not better.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
This is who Jeff is. And in that period of time, God began to rebuild that identity. No, you were, but you're a man of God.
Yeah.
You're redeemed. You can't.
You're not that anymore.
You can't do the old man mentality anymore. The old man's gone. He's passed away. All things have become new.
Yeah.
If that's true, then I have a position to fight from.
And what a godly example she was to you. You think about that passage about how deadly the tongue can be, but it can also speak life into somebody, right?
She did.
And she was really kind of, wow.
She did.
What a strength and what a blessing.
Yeah.
So both your parents are living? Are they still mind blown sometimes?
I think so. I think now they're kind of wrapping their head around. I mean, they love our guys, and our family has embraced this whole thing. Like if Jeff shows up at the family reunion, it's not just going to be Jeff and Tish. It's going to be Jeff and Tish and however many guys are in Joe's home.
That's just
Thanksgiving,
awesome.
it's Christmas. It's a family, right? The reason we called it Joseph's home instead of Joseph's house is that's what we wanted it to be.
A home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we early on, we realized that family meals were going to be a big deal. So we all eat meals together as a family.
Right,
so we have this really long table. We celebrate holidays together. We're there Christmas. We're there. We celebrate all those holidays together because, there's this idea that homelessness is driven from a catastrophic loss of community.
Yeah.
Well, I think addiction can be, in some respects, placed in that same category because if that weren't true, then why do we end up in trap houses?
Yeah.
You can go get high anywhere.
Yeah, well, addiction, I think, leads to that, right? It's probably a reverse process, right?
Yeah.
And as we go deeper and deeper into our addiction, it's harder for the healthy people to hang on.
Yeah.
Right? They try.
Yeah. So if we change their community and we give them a church family and a sponsor and an accountability partner and some people to walk and do life with them, then we can kind of
redeem the lost years.
Change the narrative, right? They become disciple makers. This is what I know about people in addiction. There's nothing off the table when somebody embraces the fact that they are truly a world changer.
Yeah.
And so my clarion call to them, for lack of a better term, is you're a world changer, bro. Stop. Stop the negative, identity of I'm this or I'm that. That's who you were.
Yeah.
You've been redeemed, right? 2 Peter says you've been given every tool necessary for a life of godliness. How do those two things add up? If you've been given the tools, then we just need to teach you how to use them, right?
Yeah.
What good are they if you don't know what they're for?
Well, so speaking of, as you break into a little preaching here, which thank you for. No, but it reminds me, you're also a pastor, right?
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
Another one of those things of sitting in Pastor Tony's office, and it just became hey, we should go down this path. I'm 2-time convicted felon, divorced. A lot of people would say disqualified, but to be the executive director of Joseph's Home, being a pastor would help add some credibility to that. Plus, the Joseph's Home guys eventually will get married.
Yeah.
And I want to be the one who baptizes and marries and buries and all of those things. And again, I never considered, hey, maybe being a pastor's in the equation until Brother Tony said, what would it look like if we went down this path? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, well, let's pray about it. And then,
Jeff, I love that because, the flip side, I think, is true. Who could be more qualified than somebody redeemed by God from the darkness? I don't know where it became, And listen, I know I have to be careful. I always, when I start to go down this path, I like to warn everybody, yes, I'm cynical, yes, I'm whatever. But when did it become the church's norm that you had to, graduate some seminary, have this perfect resume, be clean, all that? Look, if you're called in ministry and that's your background, amen, dive in. I'm not criticizing that background. I'm criticizing the idea that
there's only one path.
That it has to be. Yeah. What an amazing Paul. Right. I mean, he was on his way to Damascus to slaughter more Christians, or at least have them slaughtered. I mean, and like you said, every one of the 12 disciples was some ragtag,
Well, I started coming out here with Pastor Tony. He comes and does chapel. He's been doing chapel out here for 27 years. Yeah. So I started coming out here with him, just kind of sitting in the bag, checking it out. And in the chapel here at the Home of Grace, man, they're playing the Evolution worship song, Here as in Heaven. Yeah. And I'm sitting there watching these men worship God.
Isn't that cool?
And, bro, I just broke down. Yeah. And, again, I went to this altar, and I was like, okay, God, I want to be a part of something like this. Yeah. Like, there's got to be more here. Right.
Well, you'll never see somebody eat a plate of food like somebody who's starving, right? And so somebody who's starving spiritually, who you're just digesting, coming in, man. I mean, again, God qualifies us. We don't qualify us.
I love that most everything, I have no idea, has been your answer to everything. What is this going to look like? I have no idea. Yeah. What are you going to do about this? I have no idea. Yeah. But it's the excitement. Yeah. That's contagious.
And the discipleship model plays into a lot of that, right? Like we don't need all the details. We just trust God that he's going to do what he says he's going to do, right? Amen. At my ordination, I'd helped a lady get into the women's Home of Grace. And at my ordination ceremony, I'm, receiving people and they're congratulating me and all that. And I'm going to get emotional. Her daughters walk up to me at my ordination ceremony and say, thank you for helping our mommy. And I just sat there thinking to myself, God, how did we get here? Right? And so they're still a part of our church. They're still a part of our Celebrate Recovery. They're teenagers now. And last year for my birthday, they gave me a picture of them talking to me at my ordination. And man, I stuck that thing on my wall. And when things aren't going the way I think they should, or I run into a brick wall, or, I'm mourning the loss of somebody who's overdosed and died in recovery, I look at those two beautiful little girls and I say, okay, man, you got kicked in the teeth. Spit the blood out, dust your knees off, and get back up. You're not hurt. You know what I mean? Satan's not going to win. Just keep fighting. And, our relationship with the Home of Grace is just so, sentinel. I stopped picking up people off the streets and bringing them to Joe's Home. Now I'll pick them up and bring them here. And then through their time here at the Home of Grace, I get to know them and interview them and see the ones who really want to be discipled and the ones that are, they don't. They just want to go back to their people, places, and things. Okay, well, great, do that. Yeah. But I'm looking for those guys that want to be discipled. Right. And, the Home of Grace has given me that opportunity to come to chapel, come to graduation, come interview guys. And it's a completely different ballgame because now I'm not starting at ground zero. Now I'm starting with, they've got some time and some experience and some,
and time to see is this what I want?
Is this really what I want? And it's just been a beautiful thing, man, because, I can go and pull somebody out of prison or out of another rehab, but the Home of Grace participants are on just a different level, man. I get people who are hungry and ready to see what God can do next. And I don't get that in other places. Right. And that's just a game changer for us. Yeah. I'm not starting with the DTs in the bathroom holding the hair while they're puking in the toilet anymore. Yeah. I'm starting with guys that have some time under their belt.
But you were willing to do that first.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think God made it really clear to me early on, rehab was not my deal. It was transition. I tried my hand at a rehab for about 11 months and I was miserable. Yeah. And so transition was my thing. Yeah. And I just need to, stay in my boat and do what God's called me to do. And so that's where we are. We're just looking for God to grow our ministry. Of course, we have audacious dreams because I believe that we need to audaciously dream that God can do what he says he can do. So there's some things that I look to the future for. I believe that we need to do a better job of serving couples.
Yeah.
The man goes to rehab, the female goes to rehab, they get out, and then we just expect them now to what? Like they don't even know who each other is anymore because hopefully they've gone to rehab, got saved, and they're new creations. You know what I mean? So we got to do a better job of helping them take the next step. What does that look like? Well, I could see a transition home for couples. But how do you do that? Because, it's not going to be, 6 couples in one house. So, I just dare God to show me what that looks like.
You might say, I have no idea, but he does.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a cul-de-sac somewhere and we reclaim all the houses in the cul-de-sac and we put people in them, amen, let's go, I think that, we definitely need a transition home for women.
Yes.
We need to be a part of that. Our church needs to be a part of that. Our recovery family
church
needs to be a part of that, right?
So, part of that,
I just keep saying, okay, God, what's next?
Yeah.
And, I've just seen God do some amazing things, man. I got to bring some of our Joe Zone participants to the Navajo reservation and do a mission trip.
Yeah.
And man, what an amazing time that was. We're calling probation officers every state line that we cross, telling them where we are. And just as God does, man, I got a guy in the van with me. We're driving to Arizona. We're talking, and his Facebook message post comes on his phone, and he reads it. We're driving down the road. We're in Amarillo, Texas. I know exactly where we are. And he looks at me with tears running down his face, and he says, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" And he said, "My old youth pastor just sent me a message and said that he has my Bible from my graduation ceremony when I graduated from high school." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, it was lost in Katrina, and somehow it ended up in the rafters of First Baptist Church in Gulfport, and he got it and kept it."
Oh, that's
and I was
crazy.
like, "Really?" So we come back from the reservation, and they meet up, and he gets this Bible from him that he didn't even know. He didn't show up for the graduation day because of his addiction.
Yeah.
He didn't even know. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And what
man.
are the odds that we're driving to the Navajo reservation, and this youth pastor calls him and tells him about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just amazing things.
Well, the hand of God has been on your work for sure, and we can see it. I mean, like Kathryn said, all the I don't know hows were clearly God, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to slide in here, though, and kind of land us, because I know you're on that. I got to rein you pastors in.
We can keep going.
No, but it's really a powerful story, and it's not to be made light of. As Kathryn pointed out again, all those I don't knows are so powerful because the I don't knows are God, right?
Yeah.
When we don't know, He does. I want to say two things just really quick in ending. And look, we love all the mention of home of grace. It's not a surprise that's where this is broadcast from. But we also don't want it to appear that we feel like we have a direct line to God and nobody else does. God shows up. What we know about this, God shows up in prison cells.
Sure.
He showed up in your life without
No rehab.
anything, right? You didn't do it, right? He showed up in your life. There are also other good faith-based programs. Now, by all means, if this is your place, please come. God is here.
Sure.
It's just that He's not uniquely here. He's here everywhere. And we don't want this to appear to be an advertisement. We are certainly thankful that it's been a blessing to many, and it continues to be so. But God is sovereign, and He doesn't need us or anybody else. Like I said, He can be in that prison cell. He can be in the dark alley. He can be whatever. I just want to simply say this because I think it's such a poignant part of Jeff's story. If there's somebody out there and you're feeling like you've gone too far, you're feeling like you've done too much, there's a reason you're still breathing. There is hope in every breath. And if you're feeling that way again, if you feel like there's no forgiveness for your sin, there's no forgiveness for what you've done, if only anybody else knew what I'd done, they wouldn't be saying this. Look, you don't know God yet. I understand where that's coming from, but I want to promise you right now, and you've heard it in Jeff's story, you haven't gone too far.
That's right.
You can't until you are 6 feet under. right, then your opportunities sadly are over. But he is going to give you and is giving you, if you're willing to look around, he is giving you every opportunity. Please reach out, grab something, someone, some lifeline. I promise you it's there somewhere. It's there somewhere because you're still breathing.
Yes.
Right? So you've never gone too far. Welcome to the club, right? We've all fallen short. We've all fallen short, and that speaks to the wonderful grace of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Your sin, your darkness is never too dark, too gone for his love not to be able to reach you and overcome it. I hope you do. We love you. More importantly, Jesus loves you, and we'll see you next time on Jesus Loves Addicts.